So yesterday I bought this bowl planter. Let's see how well it works. Just kind of step down on that, and that'll get you down into the ground.
It looks good.
And then you pull that out, and now we have a nice little plug hole. And so let's open this box up, guys, and let's get... Oh, there's a worm down at the bottom of that hole. Okay, Matthew, and drop one, and drop it in there where the roots are down. Yep, see the roots down? We want to put that in contact with the ground. So just drop that in the hole. There you go. Up, straighten it up. Reach in there and straighten it up. It'll grow, even if it is kind of on this side, but it's best and easiest if the roots are facing down. So when it sprouts out roots in the spring, those roots will make quick contact. And that bowl, but you definitely don't want it like that. Just flip it over. Flip it over. No, it's up the other way. Yeah. Yep, flip it over. And there you go. Now look, the way these bowl planters work is really cool. So we made that hole, and hold this tray.
Yes.
Keep it pointed at. And look at this second one. When you do the second one, it's going to punch out the plug for the first one. Okay. And so there's that second one, and I'm going to reach down and just take this plug and put it back there. Look at that.
That's neat.
Okay, now give me a bulb. Right, put a bulb in this next hole. No, out of this container. We're going to put a few here, and scatter a few more around the yard. So let's do one more here. You usually want to plant everything in these groups of 3s to 5. You take this and put that there. Perfect. There we go. Now give me one more. Yeah, give me one more here. Now this bowl planter is making it a lot quicker to get that hole, and also to get at that right depth, which for us would be right at about 6 inches down. All right, so let's go on and find a couple other places in the yard, and you guys pick a spot out. You know what? How about under a couple trees? Would you pick spots out that you think will look good? Which one? Lead us to the location, Trey. I love to plant daffodils under trees. They come back year after year after year. You end up with a really beautiful look as they continue to multiply over the years. So where are we going? Yeah, those are some mushrooms. Under this tree here is where we want to plant them. Okay, so let's get some holes. Let's get some holes and we'll get these planted. It's rained, but it's still...
There's a worm.
So, yeah, I see it. We'll plug that, put that back. And there's a root right there.
I can see the worm.
The only thing about under these trees is that you may run into some roots. That should be deep enough. We'll get one there. You can help, Trey. That's it, just drop it in. Make sure it's, yep, that's it, stays upright. Once we get all the holes filled, we're going to replace the plugs. Okay, all the holes filled? Are all the holes filled?
Yes.
Okay, let's get those plugs back in place now.
I saw another worm.
Yeah, there are a lot of worms out here. It's a good time of year. The ground is still a little warm. Doesn't matter which way. Well, it does actually. That's it. That's the right way.
Oh, it is.
There you go. Let's get some of these in the containers. We have some containers here. Let's get some of these daffodils in them. That's also where we want to put our lilies. Get that planter tray, bring that with us. Fruit trees did really good this year. I trimmed those back really hard in the spring. When we get to the right time of year, I'll trim them back again for this year. But we have a couple last fruits that we need to pick off, and ended up with some really nice sized pears. Look at those pears on there, guys. Those are magnificently large pears. We'll pick those off as soon as we're done planting and have a couple of pears in the home. But for now, let's get some bulbs planted in some of these pots. Now these are some of the David Austin roses that I planted earlier this year. So I know that there's nothing in these pots, but let's get some of our roses, some of our daffodils around these. Are going to look really good in the spring. A different bulb planter works really well here, and just press straight down on it. Yeah, press down. There you go. And then pick it up and then hold it and give me a bulb. All right, there's one. And then look at this. This is really cool. Because you can just do this and release that dirt back into place. So we'll do another one here. And that's just getting your, there we go. And then just do this and release that dirt right back into the hole. Now we could do this with the spade because this soil is a lot softer, so we don't necessarily have to do it this way. We didn't bring a spade out, so we'll just keep doing this. We'll weed this a little bit. Shake that dirt off. Don't want to get rid of that. This is great compost that we bought for this rose, and we don't want to lose any of that to the ground. But do this last hole. There we go. And then just drop that in there. Release the dirt back on top. Now this is some great compost around this rose. So on this side now we'll have those 3 daffodils, but we have some more that we want to get planted. Daffodils here, but we have this entire bag. Let's see what else we have in the bag, because we want to make sure we give space for some of our tulips. Let's lay everything out that we have. We have these beautiful tulips here.
That's cool.
We have these tulips. They do look cool. Now these are lilies. Want to get those planted?
Yes.
And these are lilies. And we have, here's a lot of beautiful daffodils. We want to get these into the ground as well. So we have a lot of planting still to do, guys. Let's see what else we have here. What else is coming out of the big bag? I think it's going to be a lot more daffodils. Yep. There we go. And that's really beautiful. So we have a lot of daffodils and a few lilies to get planted. Put this in your pocket. Hold on to that. Let's start out with getting a lot more of these daffodils planted up into these pots. I wanted to pot a lot of these because these are really special daffodils. So I want to be able to take these with us. If we ever move, I want to be able to take these with us. I don't want to lose some of these in the ground. Some will go in the ground and some will go in the pots. Let's put some in the pots. And so I can continue to use a bulb planter, but guys, honestly, the spade here is just so much quicker. Allow me to just dig these holes a lot quicker. I'm much more familiar with it, and I can just drop that in, and it's I feel a little, in a lot of ways, it's a little bit less disruptive than the bulb. Now this is great because it gets you inches on the side, and yeah, it has your inches, and it's centimeters as well. So you have your inches here, you have your centimeters, so it gives you your depth. But I'm pretty good at knowing exactly how deep to drop these. I've been planting daffodils for years. And you also have your depth finders here. Well, it's not on this one, but some of the spades do have it along the spade as well. But I want to go about 5-6 inches down. And just get that. There we go. It's just a lot easier to just do it like that. And then I come around. So in the spring, I have daffodils coming up all around this beautiful rose, and it'll give some color before that rose really leaves out. And I'll let those die back, of course. I won't pull them out, and they'll come back year after year in this pot, and over time they'll even multiply. Let's do a little bit of weeding here real quick. Let's get a lot more. It's kind of, like I said, really great compost here for these roses. Has the mycorrhizae already in the soil, so I don't have to put any more mycorrhizae in here. But just drop that daffodil down in there, about 5-6 inches down. It's a good depth. These are nice sized bulbs as well, so I want to make sure I, get them in the ground, plenty of space, and bam, just drop that in place. And just kind of go all the way around the pot. these beautiful daffodils, and they're going to come up in the spring, and they're just going to be really, really pretty. And they're not going to really take away, and I'm going to fertilize these in the spring as well, so they're not going to pull too much away from the roses. But I just think that it keeps this pot, it'll give it a bit more, because this rose won't be blooming in the spring, but now I'll have blooms in this pot in the spring, which will give a bit more life to the pot. It is best if you can, when you have your potted plants, if you can layer your plants into the pot across seasons. One pot can give you a lot of bloom and variety across one growing season. And that's kind of what I'm aiming for here. These daffodils are all going to bloom in the spring, and then the roses will be coming along later. And I think that's going to be a great combination and gives more usefulness in this pot. I'm just getting those all in the ground there, pressing them back down there. Soil is nice. The compost here is nice and soft because it has been raining, so nothing's too hard or dried up. And I picked up a lot of beautiful daffodils, and I'm not overly concerned if the varieties are a little mixed up in here, because they're still all going to be daffodils. So these pots are done. And this pot actually has, right now, it has marigolds in it, it has a little bit of weed in it, and it has some peonies that I really like, and they will be blooming probably this year. You plant those peonies, and a lot of times they don't bloom that first year. They need a little bit of time to establish themselves. Those are weeds, son. Be careful touching those. But I want to get a couple of these daffodil bulbs into this pot as well. Now, you see these marigolds, as soon as they die back from the frost, I'm going to take those out. But right now, they're just sitting there. Since this pot sits here a bit longer, instead of just putting daffodils in here, I'm actually going to put the lilies in this pot, because I think they're going to look really good. I have lilies in the other pot over here, so I think the lilies will look really nice if I put a couple of these in this pot as well. I don't have any roses in this pot. I want to call this a perennial pot with a couple of annuals covering across the top, the marigolds across the top. But it's a lot of perennials, herbaceous perennials planted in here. And I just love perennials. I love to buy plants and have them come back year after year, which I feel saves me money from having to, go back and every year repurchase. So I buy my annuals every year, but I love lilies. These are really beautiful. I picked multiple varieties. Again, I don't mind if they're a little mixed up in this case. I'm not trying to do kind of single beds. I don't mind if they're a little mixed up. So I'm going to plant out the rest of these pots here. And I think this is going to be really pretty come the spring. These lilies will be blooming a bit later, so I may go back and add some lilies besides some of these daffodils, because they're going to bloom much later in the year. But I don't want to overwhelm the roses. So for some of these David Austin roses, I may do that. I may not. These lilies can get pretty tall, and I want to have a jointed look. I don't want a disjointed look. So I may just save it for the lilies for these pots that are just going to be more my bulbs and herbaceous bulbs. I may just kind of hold off on planting the lilies, which can get pretty tall. These may get pretty tall. I don't want those tall lilies really kind of competing with my roses in the same space. But I have other pots, and we'll just keep potting up. Okay, so, all right, my boys and I are getting rained on here, but they're pulling me to the side, saying that there's a double rainbow that I really should take a look at. I'm going to stop planting for a couple minutes and walk around and see if I can see this double rainbow. There's one. Oh, and there's two. You guys are right. Double rainbows right up above. The second one is pretty faint, but that first one is really beautiful and quite easy to see. But that second one is a little faint above it. It is a double rainbow. All right, guys, I'm going to go back and plant a few more bulbs. Thanks for pulling me aside to see that. I'm planting bulbs for the spring, and I thought about it, and I put some daffodil bulbs around these roses, but I think I can also add some tulips around the roses, and it won't compete with time and space. I want to really give a nice full look, so let's layer in some of these tulips here in these pots as well, kind of beside those daffodils, and everything should bloom at a different time. These are going to be blooming in April, May. I don't really have the specific dates that those daffodils will be blooming. I don't mind if they bloom at the exact same time, but I'm pretty sure those daffodils will come soonest. They'll come first in the spring. Then I'll have these beautiful tulips that will bloom, and then followed up by the roses, which will bloom pretty much across the summer, because these are David Austin reblooming roses. So let's get some of these tulips into some of these pots with our beautiful David Austin roses. And here I'm even going to there's some buds, so we get a few more rose flowers before the end of the year. And this one is Olivia Rose Austin, so we get a couple of blooms from that before the end of the year. And this is Green Star. I have 9 Green Star tulips, so let's get these planted. I may put all 9 here, I may divide them across the 2 pots. I think I'll go all 9 across these 2 pots. I have 8 bowls of the yellow pomponette, and I'm going to plant these in this pot, layered around the daffodils and under the Olivia Austin rose, which is going to give me a nice layered look in the spring. Create that nice little hole, just push that soil to the side, compresses it a little bit, pop the bulb in 5 inches down, refill that. And just kind of work my way all the way around the pot, repeating that. Create a little space, drop that bulb in to the bottom of that hole, kind of decompress that soil around it, and just work my way around. And in the spring I'll have a nice ring of tulips that will come up in this pot, looking really colorful and really beautiful. Make sure you don't get too close to the edge. That is always a concern with the pots, because you don't want to, if you get too close to the edge and that soil is freezing, you don't want your bulb to suffer because it's too close to the edge. So you don't plant those. I don't like to plant them right next to the edge of the pot. Try to move them in a little bit, at least a couple to 3 inches in. Give them a little insulation. I have some more David Austin roses here, and these are going to be the 2 pots. There's a rose in this one. It's not a David Austin rose, and it's kind of struggling a little bit, but it's been doing okay. These are some really nice blooms. I planted these earlier in the spring. Well, I'm sorry, earlier in the summer, and they come up well, but here's what it really looks like. The plant looks a little weedy, but the blooms are really beautiful. So these are going to be mostly just bulbs, and these 2. And I'm going to repeat the daffodil bulbs here with the David Austin roses, and we're going to plant up a couple of other plants that I purchased, and that's what we're setting up for right now. Now this little rose miniature got a little dried out. The stems are still green, and I'm getting it out here outside. It was actually ended up in a bag, and they got placed in the wrong location, and I'm hoping I can save it. This is my Sarracenia. It's doing really good. My pitcher plant. It's going to die back in the spring. It's going to die back, guys. It is herbaceous. It is a bulb, kind of a bulb plant, rhizome. It expands each year, but this sitting in rainwater, and I'm going to leave it out here. And as it dies back, that's fine. In the spring, it will come back to life. I may pot it up, but I don't have a mixture of peat. I'd have to buy some peat and perlite to repot it in a larger pot, and I don't have that right now, so I refuse to put the wrong type of soil on it. But if you look, there's a fly on it right now, hanging around the rim of the Sarracenia, kind of going down into that pitcher, eating that nectar, going down into that pitcher. And this fly may get away. It did, but that's how it captures insects for subsistence. So I'm getting these pyracanthia in a pot. I'm going to just pot them up to the spring, and then in the spring I will put them out into the larger beds once I figure out exactly where I want them. I'm going to pot them until I figure out where I want them, and this one will bounce back. I feel confident. These other 2 look great. I think this guy who dried out a little bit will also bounce back. But before we finish up, let's get some of these last pears off the tree. Wow. The big, the beautiful, but let's get some of these into the house. Here's a good one. Oh wow, look at this one.
Big fat one.
Massive pears.
They're huge. It's a big one. This one's bigger than.
There we go. We got a nice little,
This one is skinny.
nice little train going on here. Here's one.
Ooh, okay.
Yep.
There's a pear. Are the pears the one?
Oh, that one had something to eat on. That one, throw that one down. Here's a good one.
Okay.
Put it in the bag. Pick it, put it in the bag. Guys, so we got a lot of bulbs planted today. We planted some daffodils, we planted some tulips, we planted a few other things. This is going to be a great way to tidy up our garden here as we head into the fall season. I may buy a few more bulbs and get those in the ground, but I think I'm going to be really pleased with the results that we get coming out the pots and then in our beds around the yard. I've already planted there before, and then we have a few more bulbs that will be coming up in the yard. The bulb planters work really well, especially when you're planting just out in the yard. Great for pulling those plugs out, but for pots, not really necessary. A nice handy spade will work best. Hey, if you like this content, be sure to like, subscribe. I love going to great garden shows. I love going to great gardens all around the world, and then I throw in a little bit of my own gardening here at home. So if you like that, if gardening appeals to you, be sure to like and subscribe. Me and the gang, we'll see you later.